Welcome back. The Osun State governorship election is less than a month away, and the convener of the Red Card movement, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, is asking INEC to restructure polling booths in a manner that would prevent vote buying. She was speaking when she received members of the Rig No Vote movement in Abuja, where she asked them to enlighten citizens on the need to avoid what she called a civilian coup by selling their votes. Mrs. Ezekwesili is also calling for the prosecution of security agents who were found culpable in electoral malpractice.
We let them know that the office of the citizen, which they occupy naturally by being citizens of Nigeria, is the highest office in the land. If our democracy becomes a democracy that can be purchased, that's civilian coup. So we're now going to have systems of election environment that would make it not possible for any transaction to happen as a result of the vote. So technically, INEC, you must find a way to design the voting environment consistent with the law on polling units, and yet do it in the kind of way that there is no proximity between the person who is exercising a vote and that person who is waiting to pay for that vote. The state security agencies, whether it be the police or the SSS, DSS, and the rest of them that gather during elections, we must make an example of those of them that fail to live up to the responsibility that's thrust upon them.
Now, the Board of Trustees of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, has announced that it would field a presidential candidate ahead of the 2019 general elections. The board made a decision today after a meeting held at the instance of Governor Willie Obiano, who is the national leader and chairman of the party's Board of Trustees. Other decisions made by the board include discussions on the future of the party, with specific attention given to the upcoming general elections and the options facing the party. After the meeting, the secretary of the party's Board of Trustees, Sani Shinkafi, explained that the party has zoned its presidential candidate ticket to the north, while the vice presidential candidate will come from the southeast.
Party ticket has been zoned to the northern part of Nigeria. The candidate that will fly the party flag should be a credible candidate, a candidate who has good track record, a candidate who has competence and capacity to flag the party flag in 2019. So the party agreed also to get also a vice presidential candidate who is also very courageous, very capable, who has also have competence to be the vice presidential candidate in 2019 for the party.
And staying with developments in the southeast, 27 local government chairmanship seats and 645 councillorship positions will be keenly contested among 14 political parties in the Imo State local government elections tomorrow, Saturday. And the State Independent Electoral Commission, ICEC, says all is set for the conduct of the elections. The chairman of the commission, Elizabeth Ebebuchi, says more than 8,000 ad hoc staff have been trained specifically for the elections, adding that the commission is ready and equipped to conduct the local government elections in the state for the first time in 7 years. Ebebuchi disclosed that the commission will maintain neutrality and give a level playing ground to all the political parties participating in the polls. And that's all from Abuja. It's back to you, Ijoma.
Thanks a lot, Mark. The Imo State Governor and Chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum, Rocha Sokorocha, has criticized the idea of having a centralized minimum wage for government workers, saying it undermines the financial capacity of some states. Governor Okorocha made the remarks during an interview with journalists in Daura, Katsina State, where some governors of the ruling All Progressives Congress had gone to pay homage to President Muhammadu Buhari. According to him, localizing wages of public servants will allow states to fix their wages of their workers according to their internally generated revenue.
All that we have said as governors and all we have said is that let wages be paid according to the capacity of the state. You cannot, for instance, expect Imo to pay what Lagos is paying. When Lagos IGR is hitting to about 60 billion naira, and the total income of Imo is less than 3-4 billion naira a month, and you want me to pay the same thing? Why don't we localize this and know that states could pay? Anywhere in the civilized world, you don't pay the same salary all over. There are some states that can afford it. Some states can even afford more. If you expect people like Rivers to pay more, Akwa Ibom, Lagos, these are high-end, high subvention and high IGR states. All fingers can never be equal. So those who can afford, let them do it. Those who cannot afford should remain with what they are. Some can afford to pay 200,000 naira minimum wage in this country, and they'll be fine. But when you wait until all of us come up apart, it's not the best thing.
So no solution right now?
Well, there's a solution. We're waiting for the final outcome. This is supposed to have been done state by state. Let my workers talk to me, and I see what I can afford to pay, and we'll reason together how to increase the IGA, boost the economy. Because remember that also that there are other functions of the state other than payment of salaries too.
There seems to be a solution in sight to the crisis that led to the demolition of some parts of Fresh FM Ibadan following the peace meeting between the Oyo State Governor and the owner of Fresh FM, Yinka Ayefele. It's the first time they're meeting since the crisis began. The discussions, which lasted for about 4 hours, were mediated by the Alafin of Oyo, Obalamidi Adeyemi.
This informal meeting was set up to resolve the issues between the Oyo State government and the management of Fresh FM Ibadan and took place at the Oyo State Governor's office, mediated by the Alafin of Oyo, Obalamidi Adeyemi. Governor Biola Jimobi arrived at the venue, and for the next couple of hours, the feuding parties bared their minds on what led to the demolition of Fresh FM building in the Felele area of Ibadan. There were moments of serious conversation and eventual laughter.
With some people.
Narrating the events which led to the partial demolition of the music house, Yinka Ayefele says he regrets not approaching the governor himself, adding that he had already instructed his architect to effect the necessary changes.
I've been lobbying to see the governor, but my mistake probably might be I will have drove down and insist that I want to see the governor instead of lobbying or begging some people to before I see him. And I've made plans of revalidating what I have at hand. My architect is working on it already before I got the demolition notice.
At this point, the Alafi of Oyo pleaded with the governor to resolve the face-off in an amicable way. Governor Jimobi stressed once again that the siting of the music house is in contravention of the state government's Land Use Act, but he is willing to make things work in the interest of peace.
It's not about politics. It is about the rule of law. And where there are contraventions, like all other companies that have contravened, it should come or send its people to reconcile with government in areas of conflict. He stated his case, and I then agreed that I would let my people discuss with him. Let them see areas of conflict and let them look for the possibility of reconciliation.
A committee has been mandated to seek ways out of the crisis. They are expected to begin a series of meetings with the Fresh FM team in the next couple of weeks till a resolution is found.
The United States Agency for International Development has announced additional aid to Nigeria aimed at achieving the development goals outlined in the Bilateral Development Objectives Assistance Agreement signed in 2015 between the U.S. and Nigeria. In a statement, the acting mission director said a new fund of $26.5 million will be given to support healthcare and food governance in the country. The new funding brings the amount of U.S. government assistance provided under the 5-year agreement to $1.1 billion. USAID collaboration with the Ministries of Budget and National Planning, Health, Agriculture, Power and Education, as well as state-level government counterparts, structured the bilateral assistance agreement, which runs to 2020. Let's take a look at business news now, and here's Anne Waudu.
You First. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Ijoma, and welcome to Business News. The Central Bank of Nigeria has provided further clarification on the guidelines for the accessing the real sector support credit facility policy, which was issued yesterday evening. The special advisor to the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Emmanuel Okeje, told Channels Television today that projects presented by banks to the CBN for funding will undergo a rigorous process. He also spoke on the role of the regulator on the recent corporate bond funding program.
They need to be sure of what they are presenting. And once the central bank has provided and approved those loans, they need to disburse them within 5 days. 5 working days, the loans must be disbursed to the beneficiary in accordance with the schedule of disbursement, which has been presented to the banks and approved by the central bank. And we have also stated this, that, look, any charges above the all-in 9%, the borrower has the right to report same to the central bank through the Director of Banking Supervision. So the bank has the obligation to ensure that the projects presented to the central bank are in line with the guidelines provided by the CBN, which is to say, there must be new projects, there must be expansion or expansion projects, and not refinancing. On the part of central bank, we are also going to encourage this because, and I want to emphasize here, even though we are going to participate in the debt, in the corporate bond issuance, central bank is not the first call. Central bank will do that, but we are going to come in just like a buyer of last resort too.
The local stock market has closed the last trading day of the week higher, with more bargain hunting by investors pushing primary indicators further into positive territory. Let's hear more from Tosin Additional.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Friday's session ends the third trading week of August with a second straight rebound amid more demand for high-value stocks across the industrial, consumer goods and the banking sector. The all-share index edged higher within the 35,000 level by 63 basis points, while the equities capitalization rose further by 81 billion naira, bringing it closer to the 13 trillion naira mark. Performance on the price chart was positive, with 18 gainers led by over 9% increase from Skybank and airline services, while University Press tops 15 losers down by 10%. UVA is the major volume driver with about half of the total, 527.74 million units of shares worth 4.52 billion naira traded in 3,313 transactions. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Tosin Additional.
Thanks a lot, Tosin. The United States private sector growth lost its momentum in the current month, and that's according to the latest Purchasing Managers Index report, which was released by the global information provider market. The U.S. manufacturing sector fell to a 9-month low of 54.5 from 55.3 in July. The services sector dropped to a 4-month low, while gains in employment also slowed to the lowest level since June last year. New orders rose but a weaker pace as inflationary pressures moderated this month. The PMI shows the economy growing at an annualized rate of about 2.5%. Wall Street has ended today's trading session positive across the board, but as markets weigh comments on U.S. interest rate, it's a similar picture for other leading global stock markets. Let's see the figures. Thanks for watching Business News Tonight. I wish you a great weekend ahead. I'm Anne Nwaudu. It's back to you, Ijoma.
You First. First Bank.
Thanks, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, Super Eagles head coach Guyano Roa calls up 24 players for the 2019 AFCON qualifiers against Seychelles, most of them from the 2018 FIFA World Cup squad. That's on sports. Stay with us.